September 10th, 2001, I was still in my old life working as a resident in anesthesiology at Georgetown University Hospital in Washington, D.C. And I happened to be on call for the transplant rotation that month, and that night on September 10th, we got a liver, which is great for the person who gets their liver transplant, but it's a lot of pain for the residents who are involved in the process. So I was at the hospital all night and up all night working. We finished around 8 a.m. and I went with a girlfriend of mine shopping, and then on the drive home, I started to hear reports, news reports on the radio. And I'm in kind of a fog anyway, because I've been up all night. But by the time I got home, and I don't remember exactly when those times were, but I had the TV on in the background, and I remember just thinking, I don't think I had audio on, but by the afternoon, I was like, really? They already decided that the buildings were condemned and they had to be demolished? Because that's what I saw. That was my interpretation of watching what happened. But overall, with the history of how these things are responded to in this country after the Oklahoma City bombing, it was Arabs and Muslims run for cover. And so I braced myself for what was coming, because regardless of who was targeted as responsible, something bad was coming. I could not have imagined how bad it would be the world over. So initially, I was head down, leave me alone. As you'll find out in the book, that sort of transformed into the loudmouth that you see before you today. If you want to talk about the Kennebunkport warding, I think this is exactly the venue where everything should be aired out, and that's actually what I'm talking about as well today. We can talk about that. But when I was asked to present at this conference, I wanted to talk about, basically that this is talking about wars and the broken Constitution. It's big picture conversation. So what I'm going to try to do with you today is to try to look at the big picture, because we're doing a whole lot of stuff in the Arab world today, and I want to make it clear what our relationship is there. Now, this I got off of Facebook, so that we did not invade Afghanistan for the sense of justice. This is a little girl in Afghanistan in December 2008, and we know exactly who killed her parents. This was the United States Air Force dropped a bomb on her village. Her outlook right now is very bleak if she's still alive. So who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? Looking at the big picture. It's difficult. It's kind of like professional wrestling. It's changing all the time. But let's look at historically. You might remember that in 1980, the Summer Olympics were held in Moscow in what was then the Soviet Union. The United States led a 61-nation boycott. President Jimmy Carter specifically announced it because the Soviets had invaded Afghanistan in December of 1979. 30 years later, the Winter Olympics are in Vancouver, British Columbia. Canadian and U.S. forces are on the ground in Afghanistan, and Bob Costas is going to a live feed from Camp Eggers in Kabul. So there's no boycott, and so it's okay when we do it. This is the hypocrisy that our message is to the rest of the world. Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? Well, this might be a pretty straightforward story for us, Washington crossing the Delaware. The Americans, well, they weren't Americans yet, but the colonists had retreated from Lord Cornwallis across the Delaware River to Pennsylvania, and the British thought, great, they're done, we're entering our winter quarters, and we won. But then, in the middle of the night, Washington crossed back over the Delaware on Christmas and surprised them. Now, that was probably military superiority for that tactic. So we remember it here as America. We risked our lives to gain our independence. But if you ask the British what America stood for, they might tell you this: we will kill you in your sleep on Christmas. So it's all about how you spin it, how you present it, and who's telling the story. Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? Well, in this combination, I'm going to offer you some facts today, and it's up to you to make your determination. Now, America, Israel, and Iraq In your upper left-hand corner is the Israeli flag, upper right-hand corner, the Iraqi flag until 2003. Below is the proposal for the Iraqi flag after the invasion of 2003. Now, one of these things does not look like the other. Now, you can make your own conclusions, but the Iraqis immediately rejected that proposal. My take-home message is today, it is a little complex because it weaves back and forth with history and what's going on now, but we have to look at what happened before September 11th, 2001 to understand where we are today. I'm going to try to present these issues to you. That the occupation of Iraq, which of course 9/11 was used as a reason to invade, is an extension of the occupation of Palestine. That what's happening in Palestine and in Iraq are joint American-Israeli operations. That Zionist influence, among others, that are guiding U.S. foreign policy are not in our interest, and that we need to end the entire occupation. Criticism of the Third Reich is not anti-German. Criticism of apartheid South Africa was not anti-Dutch. Criticism of the policies of the United States of America is not anti-American, and criticism of the racist apartheid state of Israel is not anti-Semitic. So let me talk to you about how the occupation of Iraq, my argument that it's an extension of the occupation of Palestine. For that, we need just a little bit of history, and I should have said that this could be taught as a seminar, okay? I am just going to be like skipping and jumping on the tips of history today, and there are many gaps to be filled in, but just to give you a sense of what information is out there and to then send you on your way if you don't already know the information. David Ben-Gurion is one of the three significant leaders of early Zionism, along with Chaim Weizmann and Theodor Herzl. And the theories of Zionism date back to 1897, okay? So we're talking about a whole century before World War II, the end of that century. Zionism I'm defining as a political movement for the creation of a Jewish state. So inherently, there is discrimination there, if it's going to be Jews only. Now, this is a description from David Ben-Gurion of the land that the World Zionist Congress was seeking for their homeland in the Arab world. To the north, to the Litani River, to the northeast, to the Wadi Auja, and sorry, I don't speak Arabic except for swearing. That's the only thing I can get the pronunciation right on. The southern border will be mobile. Who has a mobile southern border? Into the and pushed into Sinai at least up to this Wadi. Wadi is a riverbed. So if you notice the borders that they're seeking, it's because they're in the desert, and then very important resource is water. So, and this is on the map, this is from 1918, the World Zionist Congress, okay? We got a problem here, that this is somebody else's land. Above the doorway to the Knesset, this is a report. I've never been there, and these are reports written years ago. I assume it's still there, but I don't know. They had written in Hebrew, "Our land Israel from the Nile to the Euphrates." That's concerning. This is why. This has been the partition and an ethnic cleansing of Palestinians that has come about as a result of the establishment, initially, of the State of Israel in 1948, and then successive invasions and occupations since then. Now, I can send you this picture. It's easy to find on the internet. But when people start talking about countries getting wiped off the map, you think of this picture. Historically, Israel, as of 1948, is sitting in historic Palestine. It's what Palestinians remember as Al-Nakba, the catastrophe, when over 725,000 Palestinians